Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaur Premanand. Hari Hari Gaur. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Leela-Mrita, combining two words. Chapter entitled The Final Lesson. Well, there was nothing lamentable for Srila Prabhupada in his departing from the world and going back to Godhead. It was certainly lamentable for his followers and for the people of the whole world, who became bereft of the presence of their greatest well-wisher and benefactor. Srila Prabhupada had written in a Srimad Bhagavatam purport, when the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, the disciple should cry exactly like a queen cries when the king leaves his body. At the departure of his own spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada had written, on that day, O my master, I made a cry of grief. I was not able to tolerate the absence of you, my Guru. And so on November 14, 1977, as the powerful news spread around the world, those who knew and loved Srila Prabhupada were gripped by a fearful, unrestricted grief. They saw everything around them in the overwhelming atmosphere of separation from Srila Prabhupada. They turned for solace to Srila Prabhupada's books. However, the disciples and the spiritual master are never separated because the spiritual master always keeps company with the disciple, as long as the disciple follows the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called the association of Vani. Physical presence is called Vapu. As long as the spiritual master is physically present, the disciples should serve the physical body of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing, the disciples should serve the instructions of the spiritual master. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, the history of the life of Ajamin, and text 15. Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Katsneya Agham Dhunvanti Katsneya Niharam Iva Bhaskara Niharam Iva Bhaskara Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Katsneya Niharam Iva Bhaskara Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Katsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskara Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Kasyena Niharam Iva Bhaskara Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Katsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskara Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Katsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskara Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Kasyena Niharam Iva Bhaskara. Vaishnavi, Vrinda Mataji. Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dhunvanti Kasyena Niharam Iva Bhaskara. Kechit, some people. Kevalya Bhaktya, by executing unalloyed devotional service. Vasudeva, to Lord Krishna, the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parayana, completely attached only to such service without dependence on austerity, penance, cultivation of knowledge or pious activities. Agham, all kinds of sinful reactions. Dhunvanti, destroy. Katsyena, completely, with no possibility that sinful desires will revive. Niharam, fog, Eva, like, Bhaskara, the sun. Translation: only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. Please respond. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. In the previous verse, Sukdev Goswami gave the example that the dried leaves of creepers beneath a bamboo tree may be completely burnt to ashes by a fire, although the creepers may sprout again because the root is still in the ground. Similarly, because the root of sinful desire is not destroyed in the heart of a person who is cultivating knowledge, but who has no taste for devotional service, there is a possibility that his sinful desires will reappear. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.4, Shreya Shritim Bhaktim Udasya Te Vibho Klishyanti Ye Kevala Bodha Labdhaye. Speculators who undergo great labor to gain a meticulous understanding of the material world by distinguishing between sinful and pious activities, but who are not situated in devotional service, are prone to material activities. They may fall down and become implicated in fruitive activities. If one becomes attached to devotional service, however, his desires for material enjoyment are automatically vanquished without separate endeavor. Bhakti pareshanu bhavo viraktir anyatra cha. If one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, material activities, both sinful and pious, automatically become distasteful to him. That is the test of Krishna consciousness. Both pious and impious activities are actually due to ignorance because a living entity, as an eternal servant of Krishna, has no need to act for his personal sense gratification. Therefore, as soon as one is reclaimed to the platform of devotional service, he relinquishes his attachment for pious and impious activities and is interested only in what will satisfy Krishna. This process of bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, Vasudeva Parayana, relieves one from the reactions of all activities. Since Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee, the answers of his guru Sukdev Goswami concerning Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda could not satisfy him. Therefore, Sukdev Goswami, knowing very well the heart of his disciple, explained the transcendental bliss of devotional service. The word kechit, which is used in this verse, means a few people, but not all. Not everyone can become Krishna conscious. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Practically, no one understands Krishna as he is, for Krishna cannot be understood through pious activities or attainment of the most elevated speculative knowledge. Actually, the highest knowledge consists of understanding Krishna. Unintelligent men who do not understand Krishna are grossly puffed up. thinking that they are liberated or have themselves become Krishna or Narayan. This is ignorance. To indicate the purity of bhakti devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11, Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami further explains that bhakti is kleshadigni subhadha, which means if one takes to devotional service, all kinds of unnecessary labor and material desires cease entirely, and one achieves all good fortune. Bhakti is so powerful that it is also said to be moksha lagutakrit. In other words, it minimizes the importance of liberation. Non-devotees must undergo material hardships because they are prone to commit sinful fruitive activities. The desire to commit sinful actions continues in their hearts due to ignorance. These sinful actions are divided into three categories: Pataka, Mahapataka, and Atipataka, and also into two divisions: Prarabdha and Aprarabdha. Prarabdha refers to sinful reactions from which one is suffering at the present, and Aprarabdha refers to sources of potential suffering. When the seeds, beej of sinful reactions have not yet fructified, the reactions are called Aprarabdha. These seeds of sinful action are unseen, but they are unlimited, and no one can trace when they were first planted. Because of prarabdha, sinful reactions that have already fructified, one is seen to have taken birth in a low family or to be suffering from other miseries. So maybe I can attempt little bit breaking the purport. So trying to follow the thread of discussion which is going here. So Parikshit Maharaj, the saintly king, out of his compassionate nature, real compassionate nature, is inquiring with Sukdev Goswami that how can living entities, how can they be saved from suffering at bodily platform, mental platform? How can their overall existence can be saved from suffering? How can be they provided real security, peace, shelter, and from that platform how can they escalate towards attainment of joy, bliss, and happiness? So we see Sukdev Goswami in response to this question. Sukdev Goswami said that by atonement, and we by sincere atonement. But Parikshit Maharaj, being a king, he said, okay, atonement is a very good virtue, a very good quality etiquette to have. But because people carry a very low level of energy, first of all, they even do not acknowledge, understand, recognize, or commit that they have done something wrong, that I have done something wrong. And in today's world, sorry has become a cheap thing. Sorry has become a very casual, normal, general thing. Oh, I'm sorry, sort of. That really that pain or that pinch isn't really much felt. And if something, depending on the situation, on the activity, either I may say sorry or I may apologize. But then, depending on the activity, how severe, gross, or I find it. But thing is, really, there should be some a bit of a feeling inside that yes, I sincerely feel sorry. I sincerely apologize. Parikshit Maharaj refused, declined that okay, atonement is a very good quality, but for someone who has got some culture, some background, some uh, who actually understands that yes, I've done something wrong. Only then one can atone. If one can atone only when he is feeling repentance for it. That, yes, really I've committed a mistake. But it is not seen, especially in the age of Kali. So that was discarded. And then that is isn't a very ultimate solution for the general masses to take on. Then Sukhdev Goswami, he gave this, okay, fine, I understand and agree to your kind of response to my solution, which is very good. And he was testing as well. So he said, developing knowledge developing knowledge. But then again, in the previous verse, we read like tapasa brahmacharyana samena niyamenava. So all these good qualities, austerity, tapasya, um, celibacy, and all, these bring us to a platform of knowledge. But as in this verse and previous verse and the purport, the root of sinful desire is still there in the ground. So weeds will come up from time to time until and unless the root for committing sinful activities or for hurting someone and hurting ourselves isn't uprooted. So that will still come about. So then Sukhdev Goswami goes and says, okay, only kechit kevalya bhaktya, only a rare person who is adopted complete unallowed devotional service. So in the purport, like this, so far Parikshit Maharaj has refused. So this prarabdha, aprarabdha, bija, kuta, phalan. So some activities which we have done, and the reaction of it, if it has fructified, then it's prarabdha, good or bad. And if it is yet to come, then okay, it is aprarabdha. It may appear at any time. Some small examples we can understand, just like someone driving a car, and if he's caught on camera, and if he crosses the speed limit and he's caught on camera, and if he knows, okay, then yes, there is a good chance that I might be given a ticket for it. Someone, a notice could be arriving. So it is something. Another instance, like someone committing burglary, and now that police is on the hook, police is looking for that person. Okay, he has committed a crime, and the person knows, okay, sometime in the near future, because of my action, police might catch me, and I will have to face the consequences. So this is why human life is a life of sheer responsibility, huge responsibility. As we understand, even in material world, government says, right, ignorance of law is no excuse. Likewise, for us, we cannot say ignorance of law is no excuse, that nature has its way of workings. We cannot cheat nature. Someone who tries to break the laws of nature, the result will be one's backbone will be broken only, nothing else. So here Sukhdev Goswami is glorifying the power, the potency of devotional service, and gradually how he's building it up. So maybe I will continue reading purport. When one takes to devotional service, however, all phases of sinful life, including prarabdha, aprarabdha, and bij, are vanquished. There's a very nice verse actually in Padma Puran also, which states, aprarabdha phalam papam, kutan bijam phalo mukhan, krameneva praliyate vishnur bhakti ratatmanam. So this desire, this bij, this seed to commit activities, anything, be it good or bad, it because of these desires to commit activities, we have this tendency and we do commit those activities, and then the reaction comes, which again leads us to committing those same activities or fanning those desires. So it is because of sheer ignorance that one commits good or bad activities, even good as well, because of sheer ignorance or unaware of his one's real constitutional position or identity. And because the activity has been committed and all, then again the desire and the see, because of ignorance one commits activities, and because the activities has been committed, result will be there, which will further take one into ignorance only. So huge layers and layers of material covering. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 14, 19, Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, Yathagni susamadra archi karoti edamsi bhasamat karoti edamsi bhasamat तथा मद विषय भक्ति उद्धवय नैवांसी कृत्सनम. My dear Uddhava, devotional service in relationship with me is like a blazing fire that can burn to ashes all the fuel of sinful activities supplied to it. How devotional service vanquishes the reactions of sinful life is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-6 in a verse spoken during Lord Kapila's instructions to his mother Devahuti. Devahuti said, Yan namedya shravananu kirtanad यत् प्रहवानाद यत् स्मरणाद अपि क्वचित् स्वादो अपि सद्य स्वानय कल्पते कुत पुनस्त भगवान नु दर्शनात्. My dear Lord, if even a person born in a family of dog eaters hears and repeats the chanting of your glories, offers respects to you, and remembers you, he is immediately greater than a Brahmana and he is therefore eligible to perform sacrifices. Therefore, what is to be said of one who has seen you directly? In the Padma Puran, there is a statement that persons whose hearts are always attached to the devotional service of Lord Vishnu are immediately released from all the reactions of sinful life. These reactions generally exist in four phases. Some of them are ready to produce um, some of them are ready to produce results immediately. Some are in the form of seeds, some are unmanifested, and some are current. All such reactions are immediately nullified by devotional service. When devotional service is present in one's heart, desires to perform sinful activities have no place there. Sinful life is due to ignorance, which means forgetfulness of one's constitutional position as an eternal servant of God. But when one is fully Krishna conscious, he realizes that he is God's eternal servant. In this regard, Srila Jiva Goswami comments that bhakti may be divided into two divisions. Santata, devotional service that continues incessantly with faith and love, and Kadachitki, devotional service that does not continue incessantly but is sometimes awakened. Incessantly flowing devotional service, Santata, may also be divided into two categories. Service performed with slight attachment and spontaneous devotional service. Intermittent devotional service, Katha Chitki, may be divided into three categories. Raga Bhasmai, devotional service in which one is almost attached. Raga Bhas Shunya Swarupa Bhuta, devotional service in which there is no spontaneous love but one likes the constitutional position of serving. And Abhasya Rupam, a slight glimpse of devotional service. As for atonement, if one has caught even a slight glimpse of devotional service, all needs to undergo prayashchit, atonement, or are superseded. Therefore, atonement is certainly unnecessary when one has achieved spontaneous love, and above that, attachment with love, which are signs of increasing advancement in Kadachitki. Even in the stage of Abhasa Rupa Bhakti, all the reactions of sinful life are uprooted and vanquished. Srila Jiva Goswami expresses the opinion that the word Kachyena means that even if one has a desire to commit sinful actions, the roots of that desire are vanquished merely by Abhasa Rupa Bhakti. The example of Bhaskara twilight, the example of Bhaskara the sun is most appropriate. The abhas feature of bhakti is compared to twilight, and the accumulation of one's sinful activities is compared to fog. Since fog does not spread throughout the sky, the sun need do no more than merely manifest its first rays, and the fog immediately disappears. Similarly, if one has even a slight relationship with devotional service, all the fog of his sinful life is immediately vanquished. वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योग शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराना श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीर धारी कृपाम्बुदीय तमहं प्रपद्ये मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री शिखरनिताय मायापुर शशि की जय हरे कृष्णा any questions or comments yes bro
I was wanted to comment on the third quote you speaking about only awareness is rare that person becomes complete service. And the Bhagavad Gita describes it 1,000, 1 in 1,000, thousands, saying Krishna service. So my question is, how can we understand this without being put off by the process?
Very good question. This is why this essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is captured in many different places and in here as well. And the direct answer to your question, Sukdev Goswami will answer it in the next verse, which I wouldn't want to actually go. But thank you for your question very much, and I always feel incapacitated or incomplete in addressing. But whatever little maybe I can try. So uh, the translation, only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed. So even like very nice, like rare, just understanding this and the standards, one might find, oh, I do not fit in this category. Again, if we see, so Parikshit Maharaj's question that how could people be relieved from suffering? And it's life is not that oh I do not want to be sad or experiencing some sort of low or depression. No, life is to be relished, to be enjoyed. No, we do not do one does not do job to pay bills, just to pay bills. One does job so that he can earn money, and using money he can have a good time with family, friends, and all holidays and enjoy relish, right? So Parikshit Maharaj's question is not just like, okay, how could they be relieved from sufferings? Rather, how could, first of all, a peace could be established in people's life? How could people come to a position wherein they live at the present moment? Wherein they start living at the present moment and rejoicing the present moment, rejoicing the gifts of nature. And from there, scale it up, scale it up, scale it up. So that was the intent, and it was for Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is for everyone, everyone. The chanting of the holy names is for everyone, even like when we go out in streets or wherever we are. If an ant enters the room, people start chanting that okay, the ant takes into the holy name, isn't it? And going out in streets and all, even plants, trees and all. So the chanting, the practice, the process of devotional service is actually for everyone. And when we go out distributing books and all, and in all the preaching work, obviously there has to be a sense of discrimination and such, but we want everyone to benefit from the process of Krishna consciousness. So Sukdev Goswami's reply in here is only a rare person. So it is not something like, okay, are you rare or are you qualified? Rather, it is the blessing of Vaishnavas which makes one rare. It is the sheer blessings of Vaishnavas which makes one rare, which makes one unique, which makes one understand, realize one's constitutional position in relationship with Radha Krishna. Anyone ever heard of Mirabai? Raghunath Prabhu heard of Mirabai. Briefly, Prabhu, if you would like to share, please.
So famous devote of Krishna in India, having been the guru of Islam and
She's a very famous, popular, everyone in India knows about Mirabai, her glories, and very tremendous devotee of Krishna. Search from attachment, search from loyalty, search from surrender, search from conviction. Right from a tender age of 5 years or somewhat around like that. And there's so many like bhajans dedicated to her devotion, and everyone of Mirabai is popular. And yes, she came to Braj as well and met Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and but then she didn't stay for long in Braj, and she achieved perfection in Dwarka. Her mood of bhajan was different. Her mood of bhajan was very different in relation to Braj Bhakti. In relation to Braj Bhakti, what Mahaprabhu is giving us, the mercy what Mahaprabhu is coming to bestow upon us. Mirabai's bhajan or was Mere to Giridhar Gopal, Dusro na koi. So she was like very exclusive. And this Braj Bhakti comes about in Anugatya. So this word, subservient. What does subservient mean?
means of serving.
Submissive.
Subordinate.
Lower.
Hmm?
Lower.
Lower again with this material world brings a connotation as in like some sort of lower as in as if one is low. But yeah, subservient, the word itself means subservient or subordinate, or it's more following the lead, say, following the lead. And by practicing Krishna consciousness, one understands that the key most quality to being a good leader is to being a very good follower. One who has become a good follower, he will become a good leader. There's no doubt about it. And in this world, there are only two kinds of people. One are leaders and one are followers. But devotees, they are led not by their mind or their ego or by their desires or attachments. Rather, they are led by the will of Krishna. Rather, they are led by the will of service. Rather, they are led by the will of compassion to give out to this world. And we all need role models or inspiration. So when we follow their lead and all, one will be blessed to become a leader naturally. So Mahaprabhu's teachings is all not for a rare or a person and all. As very nicely pointed out or spotted this, that who has only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service can approach. And there's this English expression, right? Please help me complete. Exceptions never become the rule, right? Exceptions never become a rule. So this Krishna consciousness is for everyone. And so this subservient, how we see in the teachings of Rupa Goswami, Nectar of Instruction, text 8, first 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and then 8 leads up to this, and then 9, 10, 11 verses in Nectar of Instruction. The 9, 10, 11, they are a different level, a category, or a different mood altogether. So in this text 8, Rupa Goswami says, Tan Nama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Anusmrityaya Kramena Manasa Rasana Niyojaye Tishtan Braje Tad Anuragi Jananugami Kalena Nayat Akhila Updesha Sara. So, Rupa Goswami says that the Sar, Akhila Updesha Sara, the essence of all instructions, of all teachings, all knowledge is what? To follow the footsteps of Brajavasis. Tishtan Braje, those who are residing in Braj. And doesn't mean like in the holy land of Vrindavan as such. Within one's consciousness, this Vrindavan consciousness has to be ignited. So, following in the footsteps of those who are completely in line with Vrindavan consciousness, those who are completely in line with giving the highest benefit to the world, serving the highest ultimate cause to the world. So those who are tan anuragi, those who are attached, completely attached to Krishna. And this is how, when we become attached to someone who is attached to Krishna, then the attachment to Krishna will come upon very quickly, very easily, very sweetly. Otherwise, it could be a long distance to travel. This is the message of the practice of Krishna consciousness, how to invoke that subservient nature. Also, Mahaprabhu's in his teachings, right? The whole world is struggling with identity or trying to find a identity, and there's this constant struggle, the culture or identity, and we want to preserve, maintain the heritage, the roots, our belongingness. So Mahaprabhu in his teaching says that Gopi Bharta Pada Kamalyor Das Dasanudas. What is our identity? That we are aspiring to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, or we are aspiring to be the lover of the lover of the lover of the lover of one who is a lover of Krishna. Um, So, and no, I am not. Naham vipro na chanarapati na pivesho na shudro. So Mahaprabhu says that no, I'm not a learned person, uh, or nor I'm a king, nor I'm a businessman, nor I'm a serviceman or something like that. Nor am I a brahmachari or a household. I do not as a householder, or someone who is in retired life, or someone who is complete mendicant or renunciant or complete detached. Then who are you if nothing out of this? What remains? There's nothing actually remaining out of this identity or designations or categories. Say. So Mahaprabhu says that well, I aspire or I am or one's identity should be one who is actually inspiring or desiring, one who is actually fixed up in this consciousness that I am the lover of the lover of the lover of the lover of Krishna. And who is Krishna? One who is maintainer of the gopis. Yes.
Just have a question. Sorry for
No, no.
So there is a challenge when hearing about servants, subservient, etc. In the material world, we have a very negative connotation of exploitation, abuse, taking advantage of, and usually it's kind of bitter association with the taste, and usually the people or protects against this concept, and then you become the spiritual life, you start getting it. It's not just so palatable association. So we need to implement this, also as well this challenge, how it is different in spiritual life.
Very good question. We understand like this word subservient, and this doesn't really or say necessarily gel uh, with the masses, if I may say. And it brings a sense of like, okay, that there's someone is trying to rule over me, and someone is trying to rule over me and impose his dictations of one's mind and senses upon me and all. So actually, when one practices Krishna consciousness, well, what is the ruling? One is not trying to say that uh, to give me or say money or give me or this position or no. The teachings like we can see sthane sthita. So wherever in whatever capacity or wherever one is situated and all, the message is only just chant the Hare Krishna. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and then one can check out for oneself. And in this asking to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, there's not like, okay, there's not that any element of say, abuse involved or any element of this, okay, I'm asking someone or devotees asking someone to something other than the normal as such. And in order, there has to be some, well, some practice or something has to be employed in life in order to check something out. Hmm? So, mm, society lives in a low energy, carries a low energy or lives in a low energy, and we can see the effect of it. A thing can be seen by its effect or the result by what the society is actually living and working upon. And therefore, in order for a change to come about, there has to be some tools, some means, some method which has to be employed for the change to come about. And the change can come about. One can um, leave about the different people in different stages, different categories. So it's very difficult, I suppose, to say it to someone. And again, if someone is a kind of seeker, inquirer looking into Krishna consciousness, trying to understand Krishna consciousness, then the message won't be like, okay, no, uh, you have to give up. And again, which is not the message of Krishna consciousness that give up everything. Rather, the message is that one actually take into the process of Krishna consciousness, which involves primarily what? Chanting the names of Krishna, chanting into Krishna, names of Krishna, attending kirtan, and taking prasadam, dancing in kirtan. And by employing these means, one can check actually that how is it benefiting me. Am I actually being helped along the way, or is it something being taken away? Or what something which is being taken away? Is it my ignorance, or is it something like so much of grudge, or so much of pain, or so much of say stress which I am harboring? Is that being relieved or not? So, for any shift or transition or any thing to happen, something has to be employed. Something has to be employed. And the practice of Krishna consciousness, the practice of spiritual life involves what? Meditation, mantra meditation, meditating, focusing on the sound vibration, and then a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet, maintaining some discipline. And real freedom actually comes about when we regulate ourselves, when we follow some discipline. The school, college, uni, even in the same case. So, like the transport department, they advise, they want people actually to follow the traffic laws, the traffic rules, the speed limit, the traffic signs, and all everything. Why? So that in a smoothly the traffic can flow. So many people are coming from different places and all different junctions and all, but for the traffic to flow smoothly there has to be some regulations. So likewise, when we employ some regulations in our life, and these regulations are natural actually, inhibit in our life, doesn't matter if one is a theist or an atheist, doesn't matter. We cannot, again, we cannot um, go beyond the laws of nature as such. So we all are actually following within the limits of nature, but this proper regulation and the proper purpose why these regulations are being there employed, that has to be seen. And again, we should understand that Rome was never built in a day. Don't know in how many days, but it was never built in a day. Yeah. So taking baby steps. It is the intelligence, one has to apply one intelligence in taking into Krishna consciousness. And it is not an activity, or one cannot remain as well. It's definitely the activity of an intelligent person. So, yes, come up with one's full intelligence, one's full logic and all. So, it is one's intelligence actually backed up with faith, some faith, trying faith, and applying more of intelligence that one brings into the practice, into the fold of Krishna consciousness, and one consciously takes a decision or willingly accepts that, yes, okay, let me give it a shot, let me give it a try. And once that one tries and practices Krishna consciousness, surely the one, if one is putting into practice properly, the result one can check. And then what will sustain in the practice of Krishna consciousness is one's faith, which will be built up in the association of devotees and reading scriptures. So there is not like, oh, one need not just blindly follow it, but one need not blindly reject it as well. It's not to just like follow the herd or here, there, no. And trust is a big thing. Trust is a big thing, huge thing. So the innumerable places in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, where the message where Krishna is saying, where saintly persons, acharyas say, gradually. It would be shocking, isn't it? Like if a child is born and in 6 months he starts running. And in 6 months he starts going into laptop and playing games, and he says, no, I don't want toy, I've got laptop and all. So likewise, when we give time to ourselves and spend time with devotees and all, then one can actually understand that, yes, the only ask is one in his spare time, free time, or one gives some time, and one who manages time nicely, one who can do good time management, which can be very naturally, uh, very naturally taken on board by the practice of Krishna consciousness, reading, and in association of devotees. One who does time management very nicely, his anger management, his stress management, his relationship management, his financial management, all other management would come about. But it is because generally we struggle with time management. Why? Because we carry low energy, or we do not live in the present moment. We are so much overwhelmed by the future, or we so much keep ourselves in the past. And that is why we cannot manage time properly. And because of that time management, it spills over into other facets of our life. And coming into Krishna consciousness, practicing Krishna consciousness, one can see, okay, with little bit of dedicating time on a daily basis, how is it helping me out? If it somewhat answers your question, bro. Okay. Any other question or comment? Okay. Yes, bro.
I was just wondering, mate, you're saying, to be attached to Krishna, we need to be attached to someone that's attached to Krishna. So maybe you could tell us how to see someone that's attached to Krishna. Because anyone can be dressed as a Vaishnava, or we're actually attached to Krishna, and it's not just like a superficial thing.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Wonderful question. And again, I don't think so I would be able to answer, but please accept whatever. And so beautiful question. Attachment to Krishna can quickly, easily be aroused by finding out someone who is attached to Krishna. And how do we understand? Is by praying fervently to Krishna. Praying fervently to Shishikhorantai Mayapur Sashi. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. By Krishna's mercy, one finds a spiritual master. And by spiritual master's mercy, one finds Krishna. And Krishna is not at all far away. Krishna can never then remain actually aloof. So, and how to find that person is by praying fervently to Krishna. How much sincerely do we desire? How much do we really want? This is why the path of pure devotional service becomes very narrow. It becomes very narrow. And in this path, there is no room for complaints. One has to come to a no complaint zone. And the best thing is, tell you what, of being in a no complaint zone, there's no competition as well. The world is a competitive world because we carry complaints, because we see things as scarcity. And we find, oh, I'm bereft of it. But when we come to this understanding in how could I help how could I be say like a nut or a bolt in a big machine and help in the workings of the machine. And when we see the output coming out of the machine, we will find ourselves fully saturated in love. So we have, through scriptures, they give us the glories of Krishna. Through Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we see the real glories of Krishna, the real glories of devotional service. And by studying scriptures, well, we have to check for ourselves how much sincere, how much pure, how much do we want. So chanting will help, everything is helping. And we have to pray fervently. Do we actually want Krishna or some bit of name, fame? And do we settle down ourselves with that bit of name and fame? So actually, genuinely, we shouldn't afford. We cannot afford to settle down anywhere. And I suppose the answer, in my understanding, is that praying fervently to Krishna, crying out to Krishna. And this is what japa is, to cry out to Krishna. Uh, in one's personal time, one should really pray, pray, pray and aspire. This is what all the Vaishnava songs are. When, oh when, and all. If that answers your question. Thank you. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, शिला प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी।